Welcome to Hell, or sort of Clive Barker's version of it, or the Leviathan Maze. Here on the Radio of Horror YouTube channel, we are talking about the not remake. It is not in any way, shape, or form a remake. If you've actually read this novel, there is none of the characters whatsoever other than the Hell Priestess. Pinhead is coined by the fans. In the novel that are in the original story that was made in the late 80s directed by Clive Barker. This is a reimagining. It's just another sequel, but is it a better sequel? It's a Hulu sequel with production money that the past 6 films never had. I mean, the last 2 movies Doug didn't want anything to do with, but we dive into Hellraiser Part 11, the reimagining, as I like to call it, as I will call Friday Halloween this Thursday when we review that as well. Halloween Part 13 ends. But in the same week time period, we have Michael Myers and we have Pinhead, which, by the way, go to Joe Blow's videos on their channel. They talk about the unmade Pinhead versus Michael Myers movie, which you can also check out the story behind that in the unmade Halloween sequels book that came out a couple years ago. I highly recommend listening to the audiobook of it at least, but they go into great detail that there was going to be once upon a time a Pinhead versus Michael Myers movie. Thank God that never happened, because I don't think that would have been a good idea. I mean, Freddy versus Jason is overall not a good movie, but it was the movie we wanted. I still like it, but I can admit it is not a good movie. But is Hellraiser a good movie? It's up to your interpretation. We get into it. Katie's going to talk about her thoughts and feelings on this unusual film. Props to Jamie Clayton for being a decent Hell Priestess in the redesign of the Cenobites. They're not bondage leather S&M nightclub out here in Salem, Massachusetts, Saturday night looking patrons. They're fleshy, white-skinned, peeled off, beautiful but grotesque looking things. I'm sure we're going to get cool action figures out of them. That's why we got 6 of them in this film.
At least, if not more.
6, 7,
yeah.
7 if you count the last one.
Yeah, Hellraiser 2022. That's what I call it. It's not, as you said, as Chris said, it's not a sequel. I don't think it's a prequel. It's got the same name and certain things about it that are similar, but there are definitely many differences even in those similarities. Directed by David Bruckner, who directed one of my favorite films last year, The Night House, and starring Odessa Azayan, I'm probably butchering that name, Jamie Clayton, Brandon Flynn, Adam Faison, and Goran Viznik. Odessa Azayan, I recognized her from the TV show Ghost. She plays the prom ghost as a teenager. She plays Riley, a woman struggling with addiction, living with her brother Matt and his roommates. Comes into possession of the puzzle box that we all know from Hellraiser, and unaware of the evil that it unleashes and the Cenobites and their religion of pain. I thought Matt, who played her brother, the character Matt, who was Brandon Flynn, you may know him from 13 Reasons Why. I thought he was a very strong character, very strong actor. His performance was one of my favorites throughout the film. Just spoiler, he's not in it that much. There are many things about this film I'm going to get into that I did really like. I liked the music by Ben Levitt. I liked the production design by Catherine Eder, the practical effects, and the majority of the acting I really liked with the practical effects. I think it's accurate, or I think you really should. I really want to make sure I note all the makeup department: Jeremy Aiello, Ali Gordon, Alexander Critic, Natasha Critic, Christina Majarnik, Melissa Popsel, Dragan Radic, Vesna Rajic, Josh Russell, and Mario Torres Jr. Honestly, the practical effects and the look of the Cenobites is absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. They're very different from any of the Hellraisers before this. And I think a lot, and you get to have like some really good lines from them too, like save your breath for screaming, and greater delights await, we wish to see you proceed. That's kind of like that, oh, the sights we're going to show you. But then, they do say at the end, they do say in the movie, we have such we have such sights to show you. Yeah, say that 5 times fast.
We have such sights to show you. We have such sights to show you. We have such sights.
I know we have such sights to show you. But there's definitely some things I didn't like about the film. I'm going to get into that though. It was nice to see Goran Visnjic. I didn't realize how long it has been since I've seen him in kind of a bigger sort of role in a film or TV show. He was a little bit in The Boys, but even then, I honestly did not recognize him. I actually watched that last night, and it took me. I mean, I watched 4 episodes. It was only until the last one that he was in. I was like, oh, that is you. Yeah. Wow. Why did I not recognize you until this last one? But he is an interesting character, being this like multi-billionaire or whatever, who's like obsessed with the puzzle box, obsessed with the Cenobites, and all of this. I felt like the character of Riley, the way it was written, not necessarily before her performance, but as the protagonist, I mean, I struggled to have any empathy for her at all. I just felt like she was like a brat. She just complained and whined a lot. She was just so self-centered and selfish. And then when the things start happening to her, I don't know. It just, honestly, that threw me off. And the way, like, when stuff started happening to her with the puzzle box, threw me off. So let's get into spoiler. Let's get into the spoilers. The thing with the box that I always have a problem with is that, when someone wants to open it to get the Cenobites, it's their choice. Like, this is something they've searched out for. They've, gathered people that they're going to, sacrifice and whatnot. And when it comes to Riley and her dealing with that, she's like on drugs. She doesn't really understand what's going on. And she's not really offering people to, it's like these people are just messing around, and they get cut with the box. So when they get cut, that means they're going to be the next person the box takes and the Cenobites take. That, to me, I had an issue with that, just because maybe it's because of the movies before it. I just knew it was just purposeful. And with Goran Visnjic's character, like, he definitely had the purpose of like, doing these different things, because with this box too, you have like these 7 things, like lament is life, love is knowledge, laudrent is love, liminal, I was trying to look at this, liminal is sensation, Lazarus is resurrection, and then Leviathan is power. And when you have these different sacrifices, then you get an audience with God, and you can make a wish and all that stuff. I think the thing is with the Cenobites is that they're angels of pain. Like, in no way, shape, or form are they ever going to give you anything you actually want. There's always going to be that twist, the whole thing with the genie. It's like, I want $1 million, and then somebody dies and you get inherited $1 million. I mean, that's the thing with the Cenobites. It's just all about the pain. I thought that I love the diversity of the Cenobites. That's something new. Instead of, like what Chris was saying, the BDSM leather outfits, they're completely naked and raw. I was a little confused by why each one of them had, like, each one in some way, shape, or form have like the little pearl on their pins, because everybody has pins. There is the high priestess, played by Jamie Clayton. She is amazing. She's absolutely incredible. Like, the voice, the presence, everything about the look of her is fantastic. But it was interesting that each one of the Cenobites has a pin that has this like little pearl at the end. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. I'm sure there's probably going to be something about it I'd have to dig into. I don't really have time, but that's fine. And it is interesting when Riley goes to this house that Goran Vishnyk's character Voight had lived in and had had the audience with God. He disappeared for 6 years, and then all of a sudden there's like this huge shell in the house that is very much gave me this like 13 ghosts kind of feel, where they can't come in and stuff, but also you've been disappeared for 6 years. So how did that all of a sudden happen and no one got wind of it? Or it was kind of odd. I thought that was a little wanky. Again, I really liked the what is it? I really liked the lines that the Cenobites had. I thought they totally showed a lot more torture than they have, I think, in a number of ones. It's always with the hooks and the chains and the different yoga poses, and then just tearing of the flesh. This one was very methodical and slow, and that's what I think, a lot of times every time with the Cenobites is like they want to make sure that you feel every ounce of the pain that they did to become Cenobites, because that's it's a little bit in this diary that Riley finds that Voight wrote, that the way the Cenobites, their skin is, it's like you can tell that it's like they've made sure that it's getting it's more pain than any human can ever endure. I wish that this is something that definitely I would see in the theater. One of the things, watching this on Hulu, love Hulu. I think they've done a great job this year. I know at least 2 of their films are probably going to be my top 10, but the freaking commercials during this are killing me. Killing me. I know it says it's 2 hours. Is it 2 hours, or is it 2 hours with the commercials? Because there's so many commercials that totally take me out of it. And I don't understand why this wasn't in the theaters. I definitely think it could have made, I think it could have made a killing. I honestly do.
I think it's an hour and 55 minutes.
Is it?
Yeah.
With the commercials?
My commercials were 1 minute and 50 seconds each.
Well, it seems like there were a lot of them.
And I had 3 breaks. Did you have 3 breaks?
I don't know. I feel like I had more.
Were your commercial breaks also the worst Procter and Gamble ads that you think about, go, wow, I guess this ties into this movie in a weird way?
I mean, I don't know anything that would tie into the movie other than maybe like if you're
one was for Viagra.
Getting a blood test or something. I don't know.
One was for Viagra. One was for the anti-AIDS drug that helps if you have like AIDS or some kind of STD. And I was just thinking, wow, they tied these commercials perfectly into a film series that's about sex.
I don't know. I mean, it threw me off. Like when I was trying to watch this, because I watched it before and then I watched it again, as we prep for this, and it's just the commercials are just killing me. They're just killing me. But even from the first time I watched it, I just kept thinking like, I would have loved to have seen this in the theater. And it's really disappointing that they didn't have a theater run like whatsoever, even if it was just for the weekend. Like they did with Terrifier 2. I think this definitely is a film that should have been in the theater. And yeah, I mean, for all the things that I didn't necessarily like about it, I think this is probably going to be a film that's going to be in one of my top 10 horror lists, or my top 10 horror. I very much enjoyed it. I always will. Have come to really like David Bruckner's style. The makeup department, kudos to you for doing an amazing job on making each one of those Cenobites like so completely different. And yeah, I mean, although Riley at times seemed a little bit naive when certain situations were coming about, especially with her love interest, which is like, girl, you didn't pick up on that at all. You didn't pick up on anything going on all, because I called that like from the get-go. I do think this is a film to watch. I like the religious aspects of it, and I very much like the message at the end and everything with what happened to Riley and what happened to Voight. I say watch this film. And Chris, what did you think?
as someone who's seen, okay, first let me ask you this: have you seen the other 10 prior to this?
I mean, 10, I know I saw 2, 3, part of the one with the pinhead that looked that John Gulager was in, that had some of the most disgusting stuff with the regurgitating stuff.
The one where the
Um,
guy, the two friends, the brother and the fiance go on a camping trip and they switch bodies in hell, and he comes back and tries to bang his sister.
I'm not sure.
Okay, that was the one.
Uh,
That was the one that Doug said, "I'm done. I'm done. This is terrible."
so he wasn't in that. This is the one where the pinhead was just a joke that everyone was like, you got to be kidding me, when they just saw that pin. I watched that and I honestly don't know if I finished it, but I
That
really
was yeah.
liked 3.
That's
I
the one I'm
really
talking
liked
about.
3 and the whole like weird creation, and the guy who owns the club who would get, the girls, and then they
Oh,
would end up being the victims of the Cenobites and whatnot. I liked 3, I liked 2.
that's
And
what CD Pinhead, where he pulls the CDs out of his head and throws them at people.
yes,
People hate
yes,
that
I
one.
I love that one. I
No,
thought
they
that was a
like
great
the
movie.
movie. They think they think the Cenobites became like Freddy Krueger, because at that point Freddy Krueger had become a joke. It was part 5 and 6 where he's doing Bugs Bunny stuff, and then the Cenobites are like, "Look, I have CDs in my head." Whoo! And people are like, "What happened to Pinhead? He's not a bruiser like Michael and Jason. He's a stand there and flip his, he's a stand there and just chatty, and he doesn't get into it with the fists, and the Cenobites don't even do that. Even look at the first one. What is one Cenobite does anything? It's Chatterer. He sticks his fingers in Christie's mouth, which is really just, when you see that, and he's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Well, the one-liners aren't necessary. I mean, you have the look and the feel. You don't need the one-liners to be scared of them. It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, it seems like if there's 10, then it's like Hellraiser's like Children of the Corn. It's like, honestly, I didn't realize there were like double digits number of sequels to this film, that the original I really liked. And it's like, really, you guys just kept beating that dead horse, didn't you?
Yeah.
So if there's 10, I know. I saw the first 1, 2, 3, maybe 8 with the weird looking pinhead that they made fun of, and this one.
Do you know who kept beating that dead horse? Weinstein's.
Oh,
Yeah. So
talk about
with
Cenobites and
this
going to
film,
hell.
everyone who watches it, you don't need to see anything other than, I recommend watching the first 2, because Hellbound is extremely good as well. And you get, and the origin story where the original male Pinhead comes from. With Jamie's character, I'm hoping in the sequel we don't ever learn. We don't need to learn. It was interesting, her design with the throat bolts going in through the back of her head. I even saw it behind the scene of them touching up the makeup on the wire that's wrapped around her neck, so it's not showing through. She's obviously not bolted through the back of her neck, but she's got a wire. It's kind of like the devil horns or the cat ears you'd wear around your head. It's the same thing. And I that was really cool. And she I haven't heard her talk in her normal voice while wearing the Pinhead makeup, but there was interviews with her and the director about the whole thing. And Doug was here in town in Boston 1 month ago, before this movie came out on Hulu, giving his praise of Jamie to shut everyone up about the new Pinhead, because he's the only one who could play the role. Yes and no to an extent, but when he's done, he's done. And I don't see Pinhead the same way as I see Freddy Krueger. I only ever see Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger for the rest, for forever. And if they retire the character, that's great. But with Pinhead, I think because of the fact that Pinhead is coined by the fans and is never actually, the main character in this novel, it could be multiple people. And if they don't ever bring Pinhead back or whatever, that would be fine as well. If you read Sherlock Holmes and the Servants of Hell, which is not written by Barker, but Barker approved, the Cenobites are in it, but not Pinhead, mainly because the fact I guess it's tied to the films more, the fact that Pinhead is a World War One soldier who became a Cenobite. And this novel takes place during the Victorian London age of the Sherlock Holmes time period. And it's really good. A lot of people wish they would make that into a movie. Sherlock Holmes versus the Pinhead versus the Cenobites. It may or may not work, but it would be fun to see. I mean, Sherlock Holmes has done supernatural stuff.
I mean, look, if Abraham Lincoln can fight vampires, honestly, I think Sherlock Holmes can go against the Cenobites. I mean, you know, dogs and cats living with each other, mass hysteria. I think anything's possible.
I'm trying to see if it completely disappears.
Yeah, I was gonna
There
say,
it is. There it is. You see it?
yeah.
Yes, you're right. Or what was the other one? What was the one with Barry Bostwick? FDR versus werewolves or something?
I don't know, Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know what else he's done that was horror.
Oh, it was FDR. He played FDR versus werewolves. It is as silly as it sounds. But this you're right about Riley. I was expecting more of the Evil Dead Maya, and we didn't get that. The last thing I saw our famous Croatian actor in, I swear off the top of my head, and I haven't seen. And you're right, he was on The Boys, but he was like, wow, oh, there he is. Was the last thing I saw him in a major motion picture was, I think, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He's the guy who hires Elizabeth Salander to research Blomkip, played by Daniel Craig. And he had like really cool like white hair. It was pretty nice. But him, I expected more than just like a Howard Hughes kind of role out of him, but that's, I guess, what we got. The best kill in the movie, in my opinion, is Riley's friend, the Asian actress, when she gets scrunched up in the chains, and Pinhead is just like taunting her. That was right out of Clive Barker's books. If you've read any of his stuff, that was just the type of S&M that you love to read about in his stuff.
Nora, Matt and Colin's roommate. Yeah.
Yes. The dumbest thing everyone I have talked to about this movie agrees with me is when they're in the van running from Pinhead and the Cenobites, the fucking portal to hell keeps just opening up to chase them. I was like, seriously? What? The portal chases them? If this was a video game, that's what it would be. It was so stupid.
Well, I felt like that when they were in the institution too, which I didn't understand what it's like a hospital. But when she was in the wheelchair, it's like different portals kept opening when they went by different doors, and it's like you could just keep it there, like when she gets to a certain place, because I mean, you just open up portals, it's not going to go anywhere. But at least with that one, you actually see, like when I think her name's Selena, when you get there, you see all of the different Cenobites, and that I thought was very, very cool.
The house's gates were a nice touch and interesting. It's a way of keeping the Cenobites out, because of the fact they are demons from hell. They are restricted by the laws of demons and angels and iron and salt and all the stuff. If you ever watch 15 years of a TV show called Supernatural, they did that constantly. So that was nice that they incorporated that. Magic has its limits, and Cenobites and the box and all that stuff, it's magic. Don't just write magic to be whatever you want it to be. I mean, that's a problem why people have problems with Doctor Strange, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Magic not having its limitations is bad. It makes for terrible story writing. But in that, I thought it gave the Cenobites something that they couldn't just go up against, which was really great. Interesting touch too with that whole thing. And everyone, even though it said Massachusetts, they said, no, by the way, that's not Massachusetts. That was filmed in Serbia. Don't go looking for the mansion unless you're in Serbia.
That's what I thought. And when they opened in Serbia, I was just thinking, like, I really wish someone would just give Serbia some paint and like just line it up. Cause it's like even with the music, even without the music, it's like, this just is like, and I'm depressed.
Right.
And I think I'm already at the gates of hell. It's like, wow, you guys really need a little bit of color, like light gray, darker gray, dark gray. I mean, right. It's just throw some paint. But yeah, I kind of figured this wasn't Boston, especially when they were in the parks and stuff like that. I'm like, no. And then you
It
know,
was
looking at
all
that
us
magic.
Massachusetts reviewers were like, "Woo!"
Yeah.
But wait a minute, that we would have heard about that being filmed here. I mean, we've been all over, Black Panther and Salem's Lot and Dexter being filmed here. I was like, wait, when did Hellraiser get filmed here?
Oh yeah.
I
And I
called at least
like
two people who do casting all the time. They're like, they didn't film Hellraiser in Massachusetts. I would have known about it. I was like, oh,
well, and the way they made the puzzle box like change shapes and stuff like that, because even when it sucked up somebody's blood and like seeing it underneath a coat and start to change. I mean, even it's just an inanimate object, it's not going to do anything. But to me, that was very effective and spooky because it's like, why is it changing? It's got a life of its own. It's its own entity. Like, holy crap. It's like, ee. And yeah, I thought that was a nice touch that it gave it. I mean, the puzzle box already is a sense of evil, and looking at it in the design, but to give it more of its like if its own presence, what you will, because like each design opens up a new gateway or has this new meaning to it. I thought that was a very cool, very, very cool touch. I'm not sure if it's in the book, but if that's what they did for this film, I really like it.
This book really only is the story that you saw in the original 1988 movie. There's only one other sequel to it written by Clive Barker called the Scarlet Letters. God damn it. The Scarlet Gospels. It's Pinhead versus Harry something, the guy from Lord of Illusions, played by Scott Bakula, because that's Clive's other best known character. This movie definitely took some elements from the Boom Studios comic books that were co-written by Clive Barker as the ending to the Pinhead storyline, in his opinion. They heavily dealt with like Christy becoming the new Hell Priestess, and Tina, or whatever the little girl's name is from Hellraiser 2, she's now all grown up and an adult, as the like second in command of Hell, because they're trying to take down Leviathan. Leviathan is like the god of Hell, not Satan or the devil, but like the actual ruler of Hell in Clive Barker's kind of opinion. Kind of like in Prince of Darkness with John Carpenter. There's no Satan. It's something else. Entirely. It's an antichrist. But getting into those comic books is a whole other bag. We've got like 3 minutes left. So check out the rest of the videos here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel for some Hellraiser coverage. Check out Lito Velasco and I's review commentary for Hellraiser Bloodlines, and my interview with Peter Atkins, who is the writer of Hellraiser 2, 3, and 4. And at the end of the month, I will have on the authors of Clive Barker's biography coming out, who are the best friends of Clive Barker. They run his website. And basically, if you're ever talking to anyone on social media and Clive Barker's social media, it's usually them. So they run a lot of Clive Barker's stuff. Could I potentially have Clive Barker on the show? I do not have the numbers to have Clive Barker's on the show, unfortunately. But look for all that stuff, and then look for our review of Halloween Ends very soon. Thank you, everyone. Like, subscribe, and comment. Check out Katie on her Facebook page and channel and YouTube channel, and check out the rest of the videos and reviews that we did here. We just did one for Smile, which just made $17 million again this weekend. Jesus Christ, $50 million in 2 weeks for a horror movie that cost a couple mil. Unbelievable. Just a bunch of people smiling, really. There's not a lot of great, goofy special effects until the end of the film. So thank you, everyone.